Good afternoon. I'm glad you all could make it. It's the last session of today of Seattle Interactive Conference, which is always great, which means a couple of really, really good things. The first thing is you're almost done, full day of knowledge, all absorbed. And the second thing is that I'm the only thing standing between you and a cocktail. So hopefully I'll give you a little bit of thought here, and we can go forward and talk about this. So, the access generation, how media consumption is changing the way we use and think about content in our lives. It's the title of what we've been doing, and it's some things that we've been thinking about a lot at Rhapsody over our period of time. Entertainment content is something that we think of it that we're in control of. We choose what and when we consume our favorite TV shows and books and games and music, and whenever we feel inspired and whenever we consume it the way we want to. But what if I told you that the way we consume content has inherently changed? How much we consume, how we listen to it, and where we listen to it? What if I told you that devices today have made us all more omnivorous in our content consumption, which brings more value to your life, but also causes content to be more temporal and fleeting in our lives? So, my name's Jon Maples. I'm the VP of Product Management and Content Programming at Rhapsody. For those who aren't familiar, Rhapsody is a streaming music service that features a catalog of about 16 million songs. It's a playable on-demand for a flat rate of $10 a month. We've been offering the product since Listen.com came up with the idea of the celestial jukebox in the sky back in 2001. Rob Reed, our former CEO of Listen.com, spoke earlier today, and his book, Year Zero, is out. It's really a great read, a good, interesting take on the music industry if you ever get a chance. Throw that plug in there for that. We've been working with like a lot of hard work and a lot of talented people and 3 different parent companies for quite a time now to build the subscription base. We're up to 1 million now, and the service is offered as Rhapsody in the United States and Napster in Europe. We're now an independent company headquartered right here in Seattle, just about a block away. The service started out as a PC application before Steve Jobs released iPod and iTunes Music Store. A customer had to download software, install it, and tether it to their PC and internet connection. This was in the era before mass proliferation of Wi-Fi, so a customer is sort of stuck playing music tied to a power outlet and an Ethernet cord. Since then, we've been working at aligning the product within our customers' lives. Now, what does that mean exactly? Outside of making the service as good as we possibly could, we've also spent and continue to spend a considerable amount of our resources on integrating the service with a wide range of devices. There are hundreds of devices a customer can use to access Rhapsody, from smart TVs to personal digital media players to in-home multi-room devices like the Sonos device. We first started experimenting with these devices and when we signed a deal with Verizon back in 2006. Back then, the way we got the device to go out was we would use a feature phone and sideload it, meaning that you would take tracks from the PC hard drive and tether them to a device like the LG Chocolate here. It was a bit cumbersome and glitchy, but customers could make it work. Things changed forever for us when 2 events happened: when Apple developed the iPhone and opened the App Store to developers like us. And it was what we weren't on back in the day, was the iPod. It seemed to be everywhere overnight, and you really couldn't escape them. Apple sold over 300 million over an 8-year span, and it was the first thing most people asked when I told them about Rhapsody. Will it work on my iPad? Sadly, no. By far and away, though, like the devices that have exploded in popularity and usage in the past few years are mobile devices, as we all know. Mobile in particular, smartphones have given us the opportunity to embed Rhapsody in a more meaningful way for customers. When Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, he said it was a phone, a music player, and an internet device. I'm not even sure he could imagine that when they opened the App Store in 2007, that he would be creating a heart rate monitor, a camera that would utterly make digital and video still cameras pointless, a cash register, a GPS good enough to kill that market, a cab hailer, a travel agent, a personal video player, a virtual coach, even a babysitter. Customers love these devices. Satisfaction surveys for the iPhone and iPad are off the charts. And young people in particular think it's one of the most important devices in their lives. A recent Nielsen study showed that Americans who under 25 think it's more important to pay their cell phone bill before they'll pay rent. And the sales have gone crazy. And it's safe to say that in the post-PC era is well underway because of this. Smartphone sales, there are about 1 billion active smartphones in the market right now. And while this has started as a first world phenomenon, there's nothing in the phones that someone in the developed world didn't really have access to. The penetration of TVs is over 100%. Digital cameras, GPSs, pretty much everything a smartphone can do is accessible and relatively cheap. These devices just unify the experience, do it better, and do it much more cheaply. But in the third world, smartphones will bring access to a variety of high-end tools for their lives that customers have never had access to before. In the excellent book That Used to Be Us, Michael Mandenbaum and Thomas Friedman refer to it as Flat World 2.0. They describe it as the rise of connectivity combined with mobile devices that can go anywhere, and the advent of cloud computing creating a worldwide market where skilled workers in places like Asra, agricultural trading center, 90,000 located in the Indian countryside, can compete with people around the world. They'll have the same tools at their disposal as highly skilled professionals in New York, Seattle, or Brisbane. Since these phones are going to be so important everywhere, Rhapsody believes that every smartphone sold in the world creates a potential customer immediately. And that's why you see companies like us and our competitors rolling out quickly worldwide. So what are these devices meant to music customers? The space has seen significant more usage. And while in some instances it has replaced current formats like CD sales and physical in particular, in essence, it's been additive on top of it. Nielsen will see an increase, a significant increase in streams and transactions, 30 billion, the most ever of music. So what does this mean? All these devices, along with huge content and always connected, it's dramatically changing things across the board. So I have a few questions today that I hope to answer, and I hope to show you some people that actually might be to elucidate this a little bit better than me, some of our customers and people in digital media. Has always connected devices combined with unlimited access changed the way we listen? Has it changed the importance of music in our lives? Do we relate to music and artists who create it differently? And have these changes made artists rethink about the way they make music and relate to fans? Before we dig into this question, I'd like to show you a clip of music listeners and how they're using the products today. We recently performed an ethnographic study of our digital music listeners to see how they use the products. You'll hear more about the ethnographic study and these folks later. But first, let me just walk you through this clip of how they see the product.
Got it. It's up on the side. Start it up. And I will plug my phone into the auxiliary in on the stereo. Just smartphone. This goes on. Just have my auxiliary on, and then just choose a playlist. Pretty much. So depending on the mood I'm in, if it's going to be a good day at work, I'll listen to fun music. If it's going to be a bad day at work, I'll listen to music to make me happy before I get there. Start the play on shuffle, so it's always a different type of, I'm not knowing which song's coming next kind of thing.
So you're streaming through Rhapsody? You're not playing your own constructed playlist stored?
No, yeah, I do play a Rhapsody playlist that I've already stored on my phone, though. So it's already a set playlist, and usually on those ones I'll download them onto the phone. So kind of just usually I'll choose my playlist in the car before I even start driving. And once I've decided what I'm going to listen to, then I just hit play. Do you guys want me to play something for you guys now, or? That's what I kind of like about the Rhapsody app is that you can either just have your list with it streaming. You can play this song, or you can actually download the song so that it's not streaming and you don't have any kind of delays. Because sometimes between here to Renton, you'll have a few little pockets of not the best 4G. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll listen to music on the way and just relax and get in my mood and be ready for work.
Well, the terminal clean is what they call it, and so I'm responsible for sterilizing, even though technically I don't think it's sterile with all the faint airs going through. But there's always nurses in there, there's always technicians in there, because after I clean, they set up for the cases for tomorrow. So I constantly see people, but usually, like everybody calls me the rocker because I have my phone and I connect Rhapsody to the hospital's Wi-Fi, and I can plug it into one of their auxiliary outputs and play it throughout all the speakers in the OR.
I love driving. Love driving. I drive everywhere. I'm the driver. And I drive mostly because that's when I get to sit in the car and listen to my music. Yeah. Plus my control issue. But
I'm always like, the nurse will come and I'll be like, what you want to listen to? She's like, Elton John. We just listen to Elton John as we're cleaning.
So you're the rocker?
Yes.
Okay. That's a good.
There's something about listening to music on my scooter, man.
What is that something?
I just think, because you're just kind of out in the element more, and kind of like you're unprotected, and it's more raw.
when you're in the car too, it's kind of like you're in a little studio. It's you can turn it up and it's loud and there's not a lot of outside noises and stuff. So it just, driving would be horrible without music.
It's kind of like every time I get on, it's just like I'm at a kind of higher kind of sense of experience.
The scooter's doing that, or the music's doing that? Or both?
Well, I think the scooter does that, and then when I take the music in that experience, it just makes it a more powerful experience. I just feel like I'm kind of like more open to receive the emotionality, which probably isn't a word, of the music experience,
Well, when I'm with other people listening to music, it's like there's usually a conversation going on about the music. And so, that's good, but solo gives you more chance to actually take it all in for yourself and evaluate it and put your own feelings and opinions towards it. So I preferred that.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it more personal, I guess.
And I like to have that experience with, a song that I know that provides kind of some emotion and some kind of, addition to that experience. So, and if I don't know the song, then it's just kind of...
Yeah.
Solo, personal, and that embedded experience. We find that time and time again with our customers. So let me step back and just talk about how Rhapsody is arranged and how music has been arranged for a long time. Rhapsody is arranged by a proprietary genre tree that we consistently adapt when the latest trends happen so customers can find music based on a style or a genre. Last year we changed it and dubstep became incredibly important, so we changed it over for that. We have 20 top-level genres like rock pop, world, and rap hip-hop. We also have over 300 subgenres that are much more targeted, like alt-country, ska revival, and baroque pop. If you don't know what any of those mean, it's no problem. It's the primary way that customers have related to music since the advent of the record store, since most retail outlets were arranged in that way. But beyond being just a way to organize music, when I was growing up, it defined who you were musically. In some respects, they were concrete dividers that you didn't cross. Back in my day, punk rockers didn't really mix with heavy metal burnouts. Who wouldn't even look at the guys who were into R&B and funk? And God forbid you listen to disco at all. I was one or two of these, but not at the same time, kind of switched over. So genre just wasn't a classification. It was also an identity and a social order. And genre identity still does exist today, but after the launch of the original Napster, it's far from locked down as it used to be. I want to show you some data around some of our customers to show how this service works. First of all, we did a review of our sounding board listening behavior. Our sounding board is, we like to call them the Mavens as well. It's a group of about 5,000 customers who have been with us for a long time and give us information on how they like new products, what problems they're having with the service as well. These people, from a demographic point of view, look more like me than the kids of today. They're generally older, educated, techie, early stage. So they also under-index in a lot of ways with the YouTube of today. They have less mobile usage than most people too. So we looked at their playback over 18 months, and we found that they listen to music in all top 20 genres. So every single one of them. They averaged to over 151 distinct subgenres. They sampled like crazy. They would sample everything in the catalog just to see if they liked it or not. And they averaged over 500 distinct tracks. There is also a fairly large portion of this group that listened to over 1,800 tracks. They just consume the heck out of it. And they're nothing like our mobile users. I have two key metrics to show you from Rhapsody over the past 25 months when we started releasing our mobile apps. This is our plays per user. It's the main way that we judge how much content people is consuming. Since that point, we've seen like 8-fold increase in the plays per user. Not only that, we've also seen a significant increase in the number of days that somebody is actually having a play. This is really important to us because we're trying to embed it in people's lives and have them use it more and more. But in a lot of ways, it's the sampling and the snacking that is going on with this music that is driving these massive increases of these devices in people's lives. So back to the ethnographic study. You've seen it before, but we commissioned a study where we talked to people who look like our best customers in one-on-one interviews. We went into their homes to see how they consumed music. We asked them how they think and feel. We asked them about what value music is in their lives. And from that, we've been able to get some very interesting, in-depth details about thoughts that the data will never show us. So I've got a couple clips to show you how people are interacting with music. This first one kind of points to the value of music or the currency of music in people's lives.
But I think it kind of speaks a little bit about what kind of person you are. And I think I like to share my playlist so they know that I'm eclectic. It's not one track.
But I like knowing that I showed somebody something else, even if I don't know them. Like it's something that they might not have heard. Because I enjoy it, I want to share that enjoyment with other people, even if I don't know who they are.
I like to have a lot to choose from because I'm not always in the mood for the same thing, and my taste is eclectic, so I want something available to me depending on what I'm feeling like.
I have some friends that are strictly hip hop. Some friends that I will not listen to any rap at all. Some friends that don't like country at all. I was like, well, you haven't really heard it all then if you don't. So it's kind of those things where, yeah, not everyone likes everything, and I do like a little bit of everything. So I think it's important for people to know that kind of speaks to my personality too, where I can, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, for my free time, I can have a good time doing almost anything if I like the company I'm with. Same thing with music. I can like almost any kind of music done because I can find a level of it about it that I respect and enjoy it. So I think it's important for people to know because I think your playlist can speak to what kind of person you are sometimes.
I like knowing that somebody's like all excited because they heard this band that they really love. So then I'm like, oh, I showed them that.
So yeah, these music fans show a lot of value for sharing and sampling in a way that they've never been able to before. And it makes sense because sharing has changed. In the old days, sharing was the mixtape. Build the mixtape, give it to a friend. Pretty simple, straightforward. These days, we've cut down the lines of being able to share, so it's much easier and more compelling and quickly. So you'll see Facebook and YouTube as being massive sharing with just a click. You can either broadcast all your information, and sometimes not with a click if you want to Scrabble, or you can do a one-to-one share that has a lot of value for customers across the board. We believe that this ability to share has really vastly increased the amount of playback as well. And again, big content, big usage, we're starting to see something. And I think part of what we've seen here is that variety is starting to become more of a new music identity. People are increasingly eclectically listening in a way that hasn't happened before, breaking down the boundaries between genres so that they're sampling so much more and affecting their lives in a much more interesting way. And that identity has started to change music a little bit. Just a couple weeks ago, Billboard announced that they were changing the formula for their charts. Instead of just top 40 radio, the charts now were looking at social platforms and streaming services, as well as purchases to come up with the new charts. The reaction hasn't been widely embraced, for sure, but it's certain to seem to reflect more of what's going on in the real world. As you can see by Psy, the Korean YouTube superstar who took the music world by storm with Gangnam Style, could Psy have ever reached a chart before if it didn't take into consideration everything that's going on in the world? And it's even changing artists and music itself. We're seeing bands move away from narrow definitions of what we expected from artists and genres. Country superstar Taylor Swift's lead single, We Are Never Getting Back Together, was co-written and produced by Max Martin, the Swedish pop guru that is more famous for working for pop stars like Kesha and Britney Spears. And the song sounds like it. Country stars used to cross over from genre to pop before, but generally it was a full pivot in their careers to be defined as that new genre. Now genres can widely fluctuate from song to song. Some other examples, Lil Wayne can do a rock record, no problem. Bon Iver, the indie sweetheart, he featured auto-tune in several of his tracks. A vocal technique that's more identified with hip-hop than indie rock. Kanye West quickly became a fan and covered Bon Iver's song Up in the Woods on a recent release that Bon Iver was on. So you're seeing a lot more coagulation between genres. How does that compare? Well, in the past generation, you had the Aerosmith and Run DMC explosive mashup, and it was very groundbreaking for sure. Part of it because it was so new and you just didn't see those lines cross as much. And I think if you remember the video, there was a lot of dissing between them back and forth too. You could never imagine that today. And Garth Brooks decided when he wanted to record a rock record that his audience would never accept it, ever. So he came up with the new persona, Chris Gaines. Looks a little bit like Trent Reznor for some reason. Outside of the questionable decision to create a new persona, it's very different than today. Can you imagine Taylor Swift changing her persona to put out another genre of music? It would just be unheard of. Even legacy acts like Willie Nelson can move from country to reggae without anyone batting an eye. That could be more of a brand extension for Willie, though. So my next clip kind of explores how the size of the catalog and the intensity of the content is also affecting our personas, and not always for the better.
It is really important to me, but it's hard work, you know?
I feel like when it happens, I get excited, but I guess I also feel like it's pretty overwhelming for me to try to discover music all on my own, just because there's so much out there that's so easy to access.
And especially in my kind of music, I mean, there's so many different just tracks, and there's just, it's really hard to keep up with everything.
Sometimes it'll be a song that's been caught in my head, so that would be the songs that were playing the night before, and I just had it caught in my head all night long. I woke up singing it, and it was time to put it back in. So as soon as I leave the house, I'm playing the song that's stuck in my head. And
So you bought this is in your library?
yeah, I have a pretty extensive library, so.
On your phone?
On my computer that I sync up to my phone. So if it's stuck in my head, I'll have maybe synced my phone before I left the house to make certain that I have this song that's driving me nuts on my phone if I own it.
And and I used to use Pandora a lot at my last job when I was doing the real estate appraisals. Like I was like the DJ in the office. I would just put on a Pandora station, and I had like, I don't know, 30 different stations, and I had the subscription, like the yearly, so I could just play unlimited.
You were the company VJ?
I was.
Because I love the music that I've already have now, and I have sufficient amount of music to live my life. But I'm also excited to hear new stuff. Like I said, I didn't have Boyce Avenue, for example, until a few months ago. And, I didn't miss them because I didn't know them. But now that I have them, I love that they have them. And I'm actually constantly looking for their new stuff.
Yeah, so like, I'll be like streaming something today. Like today, I was doing Armin van Buuren. I'd never heard that before. And so, and I'll have it in the background. So by the end of the day, I could have heard this song 3-4 times. So then I'll be like, man, I've heard that. What is that? I need to get that. And then I'll send it to my home, and then I'll make sure that I get it.
So I usually just wait until people tell me about a band that they think I would like.
So the fact that it's so easy to access makes it hard to access?
I feel like it makes it hard for me to know where to start looking, and I just don't feel like I have the patience or interest to just sit there and listen to a bunch of bands most of the time.
So then I'll download it, I'll re-record it, it'll go into my collection, and then I'll either put it on a CD to listen to it in my car. Sometimes I'll put them on my phone. It's especially here because I want it to kind of play in the same order, so then maybe I can track. So I go click on track 4 and be like, okay, it wasn't this one, it was right after that one. And so I don't usually do random.
So every weekend I'll kind of go in, I shouldn't say every weekend, but mostly every weekend, I'll kind of go in there and kind of, adjust playlists if I need to, or look for new music we talked about. Rhapsody online. So go to the webpage, the website, because this one has more options, and I can create playlists there and actually save them there. And then once I have it on my phone, if I want the playlist to be downloaded, I can just download it on my phone directly. So usually I do that on the weekends, on my downtime. Usually Sundays, honestly.
It seems like I'm even though it's background in my work, there's almost kind of a purpose to it at the same time. I'm kind of subtly still kind of researching at the same time.
So you see a couple things here. One of the main thing is there's a ton of music that they're trying to put together. And the second thing is curation is so important for these people. In the past, collections really actually defined your curation. The 8 to 10 or 12 or 20,000 albums, if you're Rob Gordon from High Fidelity, that kind of defined your curation. But today, with all the access to everything in the world, it's become more and more work for people to actually manage it. So you'll see a lot of times with collections with your iTunes or Rhapsody or any of the other services that you might have, it's become a lot more difficult to manage that process. It's good for us at Rhapsody because we're working on tools to make that curation better, but it also causes a lot of problem for customers and ends up with a lot of fatigue in their lives. And then finally, I have one last clip to show you here, and this is as music identity as an agency. So I'll just go through and could talk a little bit about that. Let's see where this is.
I think the way that music world has developed has kind of reinforced that feeling of needing to just having music be this really essential part of your self-image or whatever, in a way that I don't imagine was as entirely widespread as it used to be, but I don't know because I feel like it was happening as I was growing up.
I like that concept when I'm out and about. I like having, if I'm not obsessed with something and that's just trying to get it out of my head, I like trying to catch on to songs that kind of represent where I am, where I'm walking, what I'm doing. You see movies and they always kind of amplify the emotions of whatever's happening. So the notion of a soundtrack, I do find enjoyable.
Well, because like I said, I'm not really listening too much on it. If I was on mine, I would probably look at the playlist and be controlling the playlist, and I want this song to play next, or I forward this song or whatever. That's where the distraction comes to play. I mean, listening to the music doesn't necessarily totally distract you. Sometimes you'll sing along. But if it's my playlist, I will forward certain songs, or I'll change the order, or I'll add a new song, or who's this singing again, and go back to it. So this way it's not something of mine personally. It's just background music.
I'm just listening for, well, I like the words. I like hearing the certain, there's so many times where I'm like, oh, I love this line, or I love the way he says this word. Sometimes there's a way they say it that I like. So that's what I'm like looking for, is just, I'm not looking for it, but if I hear it, I pay attention to it.
Exactly. So I do set up, if I'm not obsessed with the song, I will try to pick a song that's kind of like my morning soundtrack.
And the more the interaction pieces, if I'm playing it on my computer, I'm interacting with it. Versus somebody else playing on their computer, I have no interaction. I'm listening to whatever they're playing, so it's more background.
Sometimes if I'm really, really busy, I just can't mess with it. And so I just have it on shuffle, because then it's, then it's kind of, just, I don't even have to think about it. It's just kind of there. But if I'm kind of hitting a rare slow point, or really just want to hear mute math, then I will just switch it to completely 100% mute math, and that'll just keep playing through and through,
I love hearing new, because you do, I have my library and there's a million songs in there, but once you listen to it over and over, you're looking for new stuff because you want to hear something new, and so then when you find new music, it's fun, because then and I go overboard. When I find something new that I really love, I'll listen to it every day, all day for like 4 days, and then I'll get sick of it and stop. So I go overboard with listening to my new stuff.
I definitely feel like it's a cultural thing also, just because music is more accessible, it seems like, than it's ever been. Recorded music is, and I feel like that makes it easy for it to become kind of like an accessory for people's identities.
Cool? You like that?
I don't.
But like I said, if things are just really slammed, I can't spend a lot of time focusing on that, because I have to get through what I'm doing at work before I can really focus on what I'm listening to.
Yeah.
So, but it's nice to have it in the background, because it would just be silence and typing, and no one wants to hear that for 9 hours a day. So.
Yeah. But sometimes you pull stuff out of the background, I guess, to use that word, and you really focus on it at work.
Yeah, I do. And then I get less work done, but.
It's automatic. It's just the way it goes.
Just because then I'm like, ooh, really, this is a good, like my boss will be talking to me, and I'm like, oh, this is a good one. And he's like, Kim, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. But yeah.
I guess that's something I think about often, is just the way that the internet has like made it seem imperative to young people to like construct a really specific kind of like easily transmittable persona, like made out of all the things that you like. And I think that people, like probably young people like everywhere, have always like been really into their identities and like the way people see them, because that's when you're like developing it or whatever. But it just feels like since like the rise of the internet, that's gotten really intense in a lot of ways, and it feels like it makes it hard to like, I don't know, just being constantly exposed to like so many things and having to figure out what you like all the time makes it hard to like just like be still and like understand what is actually like underneath everything.
I think part of the, sorry for the time code on that, this clip we just got, part of it speaks to two things for me. It's like you have so much content that you go on to the next thing almost immediately, and you don't have that like limited set of curation and small limited amounts of content that you can actually go deep into. So it does cause a little bit of things, like unlimited music means a shorter shelf life. People move on to the next thing quicker than ever. And you see more charts and popularity. The top still stays bigger because people are actually using it more, but below it you see more fluidity with it. So I want to end this presentation. David Byrne just recently wrote a book called How Music Works, which is a little all over the place. But this quote kind of seemed pretty interesting to me and kind of clued it up about like the whole idea of like discovery in big amounts of music. Music technology in some ways appears to have been a trajectory in which the end result is that it will destroy itself and devalue itself. The technology is useful and convenient, but it has, in the end, reduced its own value, increased the value of things it has never been able to capture or reproduce. The way I read that is, for about 150 years, recorded music has been trying to recapture the live performance, that experience that actually started many of these things. And back 150 years ago, the music you knew was the music in your holler, in your drum circle, in your Viennese court. And these days, with exposure to everything, the access and the ability to have it become more, in a way, takes away the physicality, and it becomes a virtual thing, almost what it was before, just removed from the performance. So that's all I have for that. I open it up for Q&A. If anyone has any questions, come on up, use the mic if you can.
So you talked a little bit about the importance of social aspects in Rhapsody. I can't help but point out that one of your competitors does this fairly prolifically to the point of being obnoxious. And I was just curious to see your perspective on what you think is an appropriate integration with social networks.
It depends on the user. I think about 10% of users really are interested in broadcasting their likes to the entire world, telling the entire world of it. The majority of music seekers and people who really care about music deeply really want the personal one-to-one share. And we've been trying to make the balance between the broadcast ability and that one-to-one share that really means more to customers' lives.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Cocktail? Okay. Thanks.